And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
What Ryan Reynolds, has seemingly done, right, is used his power and influence to not only help Blake Lively take over this movie, but, he's used it, on Deadpool and to make fun of Justin Baldoni.
Joe Rogan just put Ryan Reynolds on blast, and the timing couldn't be worse. Marvel is reportedly furious with Ryan Reynolds for allegedly ruining the Deadpool franchise, and now fans are starting to turn on Hollywood's favorite wisecracking anti-hero. Could this be the biggest downfall of his career, or is it just another chaotic Marvel disaster? Let's break it all down, because this story is absolutely wild. For years, Ryan Reynolds was Marvel's golden boy. He wasn't just playing Deadpool, he was Deadpool. No other MCU star had the kind of creative control he did. But behind the scenes, things started to shift. Reports suggest that Marvel executives began growing uneasy with just how much influence Ryan had over the Deadpool franchise. Unlike other actors who simply showed up, delivered their lines, and let the studio handle the rest, Ryan had his hands in everything: script, casting, marketing. He wasn't just a lead actor, he was shaping the entire project. At first, Marvel saw this as a good thing. After all, Ryan practically rescued Deadpool from development hell by leaking test footage back in 2014, forcing the studio's hand to greenlight the first film. But as time went on, insiders claim Ryan started pushing his influence even further, and that's where Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni come into the picture. Blake Lively had signed on to star in It Ends With Us, a film directed by Justin Baldoni. On paper, it had all the makings of a smash hit, an adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, a stellar cast, and a director known for emotional storytelling. But behind the scenes, it was anything but smooth. Initially, the reported issues between Blake and Baldoni seemed minor, typical creative disagreements that happen on film sets. But Blake, known for meticulously crafting her career, had always been deeply involved in shaping her roles. And according to sources, she started feeling sidelined. Baldoni wasn't just directing, he was also co-writing and starring in the film, giving him significant control over how the story played out. Industry insiders claim that Blake envisioned her character as the emotional anchor of the movie, but as production went on, she realized the focus was shifting.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me, is that she's a walking, talking contradiction, yet it's perfectly harmonious for her.
And I'm excited to have a creative partner in that with you. And it's just really exciting. There's so much more to say. There's so much I want to say. There's one thing that I do need to say, which is, I am so sorry you have been through what you've been through with these other filmmakers and producers or whoever the people were that you worked with. It just pissed me off. Those that, I'm just still kind of blown away that this is the industry that we're in and that you've experienced that as a woman. And I know I don't need to say it, but that's not at all going to be, or will be, and hopefully it's not been the experience with me. There's nothing more exciting to me like that I get to work with Blake Lively and have her, all of her. I mean, that's what I want. And so there's been no hesitancy with me sending you the final draft file. I am totally fine with that. The only reason I didn't send it today was because I was trying to implement and add your notes into my working draft, which is already, like, I'm all over that draft right now. So there's a whole bunch of new stars that are going to be collated pages. And I just haven't had a chance to send it to you.
On to Baldoni. His vision, his performance, his version of the story. And she wasn't happy. Some sources say she pushed for rewrites, arguing that her character needed a stronger arc and a more central role in the narrative. But as her requests clashed with Baldoni's vision, tensions on set reportedly began to boil over. And this is just the beginning. The deeper you look, the messier it gets. So what's really going on behind the scenes? And how does Ryan Reynolds fit into all of this? Let's break it all down. As the power struggle escalated, rumors started swirling that Blake Lively was growing increasingly frustrated with how It Ends With Us was being positioned in the media. She reportedly felt that the promotional materials and press coverage were heavily emphasizing Justin Baldoni's involvement, while her contributions were being sidelined. Some sources even claimed that at one point she considered walking away from the project, feeling undervalued and overshadowed. But then came the real twist. Blake allegedly started suspecting that Baldoni was behind a wave of negative press about her, painting her as difficult, demanding, and controlling on set. If true, this would be a serious allegation, considering Hollywood's long history of unfairly labeling female actors as difficult whenever they assert creative control. Public sentiment started shifting in Blake's favor, with many rallying behind her, until a shocking development flipped the entire narrative. Leaked text messages surfaced, and instead of exposing Baldoni as the mastermind behind the negative press, they suggested that Blake herself was orchestrating a behind.
Guess you've already met Mary Poppins, aka Dogpool. Careful where you put your hand. She's 90% G-spot, and she'll let you know it. You let this little flirt out of your sight for 1 second, and she starts shopping for a new papa. If you can't be a responsible pet owner, then maybe you don't deserve this little unicorn. Guilty on all charges, Your Honor. Chantal.
The scene's media strategy to control the story. And the most shocking part. In these messages, she allegedly referred to her close allies, including her husband, Ryan Reynolds, as her dragons. The internet exploded with speculation. Was Blake using her Hollywood connections to manipulate media coverage in her favor? Did she have industry insiders working behind the scenes to push back against Baldoni's influence? And if she was leveraging Ryan's power to shift narratives in Hollywood, could Ryan have been doing the exact same thing inside Marvel? That's when Marvel executives reportedly started paying very close attention. And when they began digging into Ryan's influence on Deadpool 3, what they found may have pushed them to take legal action. Because if you thought this was messy before, it's about to get way worse. Insiders claim that Ryan took direct shots at Justin Baldoni inside Deadpool 3. And when Marvel executives found out, they were furious. Now, Deadpool movies are famous for their self-aware, savage humor. Ryan has never shied away from breaking the fourth wall to roast celebrities, movie studios, or even Marvel itself. But according to reports, Deadpool 3 contained multiple jokes that didn't just poke fun at Baldoni. They targeted him directly. And they weren't just harmless jabs. This is where everything changes. What happens next could shake Hollywood and the MCU to its core. Let's break it all down. And this is where things get super messy. According to insiders, one of the jokes in Deadpool 3 was a thinly veiled jab at Justin Baldoni, whose Hollywood reputation is built on his inspirational, feel-good approach to filmmaking. But the shots didn't stop there. Another scene reportedly featured Deadpool mocking a Hollywood director turned actor, a guy who insisted on starring in his own movies despite being completely unqualified for the role. Sound familiar? Yeah. That description lined up suspiciously well with Baldoni's real-life decision to direct and star in his upcoming film with Blake Lively. Marvel executives allegedly stepped in fast, demanding rewrites, fearing these jokes could open the studio up to legal backlash. And while some jokes may have been cut from early screenings, insiders claimed Ryan fought hard to keep them in the final cut, leading to serious tensions between him and Marvel's higher-ups. But this wasn't just about one or two jokes. Marvel prides itself on maintaining strong relationships with directors and actors. If one of their biggest stars was using a major MCU film to settle personal scores, that was a serious problem. That's when Marvel started questioning everything. Was Ryan's influence over Deadpool becoming a liability? And then, the lawsuit bombshell dropped. After months of internal discussions, Marvel made the unprecedented decision to file a lawsuit against Ryan Reynolds. This wasn't just about creative disagreements, this was about controlling the future of the MCU. Marvel's biggest concern? Brand protection. If Ryan was using Deadpool 3 to take personal shots at Baldoni, it set a dangerous precedent. What if other Marvel stars started doing the same thing? What if Ryan's off-screen influence became bigger than the actual franchise itself? For Marvel, this was a breaking point. No matter how popular he was, they couldn't allow an actor to control the narrative of one of their biggest properties. And just like that, Ryan Reynolds, one of Marvel's most untouchable stars, became their biggest problem. The lawsuit shook Hollywood. Ryan Reynolds, who had built his entire brand.
In the retrospect, this is all just so scary. It feels like a form of abuse against Blake. And she's not a victim in any of this. She's totally bratty, and we've gone through her messages as well. But I am just saying that the fact that he doesn't want to be apart from her, and now he's inserted himself into every layer of this movie, something's very wrong here, okay?
And on being an untouchable comedic icon, was suddenly at serious risk of losing his most famous role. Even worse, other studios started backing away. Major film projects with Ryan were reportedly put on hold as producers waited to see how the lawsuit played out. Meanwhile, Blake Lively, who had spent years carefully curating her Hollywood image, took a massive hit. The leaked texts didn't just expose behind-the-scenes drama. They painted a new picture of Blake, one that suggested she wasn't just a polished, graceful actress who avoided messy feuds, but a power player who wasn't afraid to pull strings when necessary. For years, Blake had been seen as strategic and precise in her career. But now? The leaked messages made people question everything. Was she just a savvy businesswoman protecting her interests? Or had she overstepped, using her influence to manipulate the media and control the narrative at Baldoni's expense? And then there was that one word. Dragons. That's how she allegedly referred to her allies, including Ryan Reynolds. The internet exploded. Were these just loyal supporters? Or was this an organized effort to control the film's narrative? Was Blake rallying Hollywood connections to shift media perception? And while Blake faced scrutiny, the fallout didn't stop there. Ryan Reynolds, Hollywood's king of sarcasm, the man known for teasing, trolling, and never taking anything seriously, suddenly went silent. No cheeky tweets. No Deadpool-style wisecracks. No playful jabs at Hollywood's expense. For someone who built an entire brand around being unfiltered and unapologetically unpredictable, the silence was deafening. And that's when people realized something huge was happening behind the scenes. This story isn't just about one lawsuit. It's about power, control, and what happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved actors goes up against one of the biggest studios on the planet. And trust me, this is far from over. The silence from Ryan Reynolds wasn't just surprising, it was suspicious. Was he staying quiet to avoid adding fuel to the fire, or was he genuinely blindsided by the situation? Fans were divided. Some believed he was taking a strategic step back, knowing that one wrong move could make things worse. Others speculated that Marvel itself had warned him to keep his head down while they assessed the damage. Then came an even bigger bombshell, rumors that Marvel was reconsidering Ryan Reynolds' future as Deadpool. At first, it sounded like an overreaction. Ryan was Deadpool. He had fought to bring the character to life, turned the franchise into a billion-dollar success, and made it one of Marvel's most unique properties. But suddenly, whispers started circulating that Marvel was exploring other creative directions for the character. Translation? A possible recast. For Ryan, this wasn't just about losing a role, it was about losing a legacy. Deadpool wasn't just another paycheck, it was a project he had poured his heart into, something he built from the ground up. Walking away wouldn't just mean stepping back from the MCU. It would mean losing a part of his identity as an actor. And as if the controversy wasn't messy enough, new speculation started swirling about the real reason Ryan was so involved in Blake Lively's Hollywood drama. Some claimed his sudden interest in the It Ends With Us production wasn't about business, it was about jealousy. People started piecing together timelines, noticing that Ryan and Blake had been scheduled to be apart for months while filming separate projects. And just as that separation loomed, the media storm erupted. Was Ryan using his industry power to create chaos and keep Blake from getting too close to Justin Baldoni? If Marvel believed he was leveraging his influence in ways that disrupted their brand, they had every reason to consider him a liability. But if they chose to cut ties, they risked alienating an entire fan base, one that saw Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool as inseparable. The stakes had never been higher. If Marvel officially moved forward without him, it could mark the end of Ryan Reynolds' reign as Hollywood's favorite wisecracking anti-hero. And in an industry built on perception, a fall from grace like this wouldn't be easy to recover from. So what happens next? Is Ryan Reynolds really out? Will Blake and Ryan be able to navigate this storm, or has their Hollywood power finally turned against them? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Is this the end of Deadpool as we know it? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more shocking Hollywood updates, because trust me, this story is far from over.